Hi, my name is Selena Hunter, and this is my final oral presentation for the Introduction to Criminal Justice course. So during this presentation, I'll be going over my crime scene scenario, which is forcible rape, and the three big ideas learned from the course and what was discovered about them during my crime scene scenario project. Also, I'll be going over the essential questions from the course and how they were answered during my crime scene scenario project. So during crime scene scenario part 1, we had to make up a scenario. So my scenario was forcible rape, and it started off with a man and woman arguing in an alleyway in the city. And the argument started to become a little physical, and the woman became scared, so she started to cry for help. So in response to her cry for help, another woman came into the alleyway and tried to calm the man down. And during this scenario, the first woman fled the situation. She got scared and fled and started to seek help. So they were out with friends throughout the night, the first woman and the man. And so she went to go look for these friends again to come back and help. When she fled, the man became angered and he took it out on the second woman who responded to the cries for help. And when he took it out on her, it became physical and it resulted in rape. So when the first woman came back with friends, the only person in the alleyway was the second woman, and she was unconscious on the ground, and one of the friends called 911 for help. The city police responded to the call because it was their jurisdiction. During crime scene scenario part 2, it was intaking the crime scene and doing the incident reports. So it was basically how the crime was reported. The crime was reported by one of the friends. He called 911 and he gave the location of the crime to 911 so that they could respond in a timely manner as quickly as possible. And the city police responded because it was their jurisdiction. And then the officer had to intake the scene of the crime. He had to see what was going on and try to assess why. So what he intook in his incident report was the number of witnesses. He questioned a couple of the witnesses, questioned the victim, and then he intook the victim's injuries. He saw that there were injuries, so he contacted other emergency services. So when he did that, as he was doing all of that, he was questioning everyone to determine what had happened and why. Next was crime scene scenario part 3, and this was the actual questioning and why he questioned each person. So of course he questions the victim because the victim is the only one who was actually there. So she was the only witness to the actual physical crime. So he needs to hear her side of the story for obvious reasons. And then he questions the witnesses, and the witnesses can give him information that the victim couldn't. So maybe why this man chose to commit the crime. So he did drink previously throughout the night, so maybe that was a cause for the crime. Maybe that's what made him even more angry or act on his anger a little, more clearly, I guess. And then he questioned the suspect's father, and this actually led to the officer learning that the suspect lost his mother previously in his life, which caused a severe hardship for the suspect, and it severed the relationship between the father and the suspect. So the father did not have a good relationship with the suspect, which is kind of what the officer was hoping for. He was hoping that they had a good relationship so that he knew how to find the suspect. But it actually led to the opposite. They had no relationship whatsoever, but the father led the police officer to a friend of the suspect. The friend is actually where they found the suspect. They found the suspect was living with the friend. So that's how they determined how to react next. Because he was at the friend's house during crime scene scenario part 4, this was the arrest process. So in order to start to arrest the suspect, they had to determine probable cause for the arrest. So the real evidence that got taken during the medical examination of the victim was DNA found on her body underneath her nails, on her body. So the real evidence pointed to the suspect. It was all suspect's DNA. So that made him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And then they determined that it was better to use the friend's house for the arrest process because it made the suspect feel a little more at home, I guess you could say. It made him comfortable. So this made it a good idea to do the arrest there so that the suspect didn't feel the need to respond negatively. So during the arrest process, they kept the friend updated on the situation so that the friend, as well as other coworkers and everyone involved in the arrest, didn't get an unsafe feeling. No one had any safety reasons to think about. And then after the arrest took place, they searched the suspect for other weapons and stuff, also for safety reasons. And then they read him his Miranda warnings. So his Miranda warnings are the only rights the suspect has at the time. And then the police, the city police, were the actual ones who did the arrest because they had jurisdiction for the arresting process. And then in crime scene scenario part 5 was the arraignment. So this is where the suspect hears his charges and can enter a plea. So hears his charges for the first time, which are second-degree sexual assault, and then he pled not guilty. So then the judge had to do they decided to do a pretrial detention on the suspect because of the nature of the suspect's crimes. So he's a very dangerous criminal at this point, so they didn't want to release him back into public just in case he reoffended before the actual trial process took place. So because he pled not guilty, they had to do a preliminary hearing to determine if there was enough evidence to actually do a trial. So this is where they determine if there's probable cause that he could have committed, the crimes. And then crime scene scenario part 6 is the actual trial itself. So the jury reaches a guilty verdict during the criminal trial, and then the judge can sentence the suspect however he deems necessary. So for the sentencing process, the judge does the president's investigation, which is like learning a little more about the suspect itself to determine the correct way to sentence him. So this is like his past criminal backgrounds, family history, drug history, so on and so forth. And then because it is a felony rape charge, dangerous criminal, he is going to go to prison for up to 15 years. And they decided on prison because it's the most necessary way to charge him. Jail is not enough because he is being charged with a felony crime and he's going to jail for more than 1 year. Prison's the only way to go. And then he's a violent criminal, so he's not fit for alternative community sanctions because they don't want to put him back in public because of his violent tendencies. He's unsafe for public. And then 3 big ideas learned in the course were justice, duty, and ethics. Justice, you have to, as a criminal justice professional, you want to ensure people receive what they're deserving of, which is justice. You make sure everyone gets justice for crimes committed against them. And then duty is your moral or legal obligations. So neglecting your duties as a criminal justice professional makes you unreliable. Being unreliable makes people not want to call you for help. And then ethics is your moral principles that govern how you behave. So studying ethics makes it possible to understand unethical behavior. So it makes it easier for you to determine why someone's behaving the way that they're behaving, criminal or not. And then during the crime scene scenario, I learned that justice makes victims feel unsafe if justice isn't received. So you want to make everyone receive justice so that everyone feels safe in their community environment. Otherwise, nobody will want to call you for help because you're not giving them the justice that they so deserve. And then duty, if you are neglecting your duties, it could make people misrepresent the police department, which would result in an unstable societal support. And you have to have societal support in order to have an actual suitable police department for the area so that everyone deserves justice or gets the justice that they deserve. And then ethics, if an officer is not acting ethically, it could result in wrongful conviction. So someone not getting what they deserve or someone being convicted for a crime that they did not commit. And then essential questions continued. You want to enforce and uphold the law in order to keep society safe. You seek justice so offenders don't walk. If an offender walks, society's going to feel completely unsafe. And so you have to make sure justice is served. And then my impact as a criminal justice professional, I'm hoping I want to give society a reason to look at criminal justice professionals in a positive way. I want to make sure everyone sees criminal justice professionals positively so that they feel like they can go to a criminal justice professional for any reason. And then the goal of justice is to promote a safer society for everyone involved, including criminal justice professionals, societal members, so on and so forth. And then potential solutions that I found is to practice fair and effective ways of conducting justice for people who are criminal or not. It doesn't matter if you're a criminal or just a plain old civilian getting pulled over by a police officer for something that you didn't mean to do, whatever. You want to be fair and effective to everyone. So corrections officers, you're dealing with people who are already criminals, and you still have to treat them with respect and be fair with them and be effective in your mannerisms. Otherwise, those people aren't going to feel like you're being fair to them. And when they get released, they might just be criminals all over again. And it's not effective for anyone. So that's my orientation. Thank you.